Hello and greetings to everybody. We try to make this a bit of a formal occasion, but we never really make it. And it's so much more comfortable because this is a celebration of poetry. It is a celebration of poetry for high school students who recite it. And I have to believe to memorize all of those poems, they have to love it. And these poems, we hope, speak to them. If you've ever memorized a poem, you realize that that poem becomes yours and is basically your private property for the rest of your life until you get my age and then you forget such and such. But I taught English for 30-some years, American literature, and many other poems throughout the years. And I write poetry today, and I have to say, those echoes of all of that poetry come back to me maybe too often. But this really is a celebration of poetry and of young people who are carrying on the tradition of loving poetry. And we know that there is a lot of love of poetry out there, and poetry is not dead. There are all sorts of avenues, of areas of interest, from the poetry of rap and hip-hop and the spoken word, and many other things that are particularly important to young people. Now, I'm Jackie Martindale, and I've been doing this since 2006. As I said, I was a teacher at one time for 30 years at Lodi High School, and I really, when I retired, I got this job, and I love it. We have judges here. We have 3 judges, an accuracy judge, and Jim is going to be introducing them. First of all, though, I'm going to introduce Penny Parsons, who will be our accuracy judge here. She's one of our regional coordinators in the capital area, in the Madison area, and Ella Shaw, who is going to be our prompter today, and she drove from Durand area, which was snowy, slippery, and hopefully it was only in stretches, but sometimes those stretches get you. And then we have Lois Soberlich from Wrightstown, the Green Bay area, and she is also one of our coordinators up in that neck of the woods. And I want to thank all of the coordinators who could get here today very much, and I will be giving other thanks at the end of the program. There are a lot of people. Okay, one of the things I'm going to say about this state final is that it's our 8th year. We will, the people who win today, the person who wins today, the champion, Wisconsin champion, will be attending the national finals in Washington, D.C., April 28th through 30th. They will be winning a cash prize, as will their schools, and at the national level, there are over $50,000 worth of prizes. For the last few years, we have had our champ be in the the top 12, winning $1,000 there, plus that trip with a chaperone, and a lot of thrilling times. Somewhat disappointing because we didn't fully make it into all the way, but still, that's quite an impressive record for Wisconsin. It speaks well of Wisconsin schools and English teachers and students. Okay, I was referring a little while ago to how the new poetry, or the poetry that students are studying and reading and reciting now, and I've been saying that it's been a celebration, and I told Jim this was going to be quick. But he doesn't have to read a poem this year. I'm going to read the poem, and we will also have some readings from our poets. The poem that I want to read is out of this book, which is one of our anthologies. And I have about six available out there on the desk if any of you are interested in picking those up, especially teachers. This is by William Shakespeare. It's one of my favorites, and it's about the immortality. A lot of his sonnets were about immortality. And in this case, it's about the immortality of his love, and also the immortality of poems. Not marble, nor the gilded monuments, Sonnet 55. Not monuments, not marble, nor the gilded monuments of princes shall outlive this powerful rhyme, but you shall shine more bright in these contents than unswept stone besmeared with sluggish time. When wasteful war shall statues overturn, and broils root out the works of masonry, nor Mars his sword, nor war's quick fire shall burn the living record of your memory. 'Gainst death and all oblivious enmity shall you pace forth. Your praise shall still find room even in the eyes of all posterity that wear this world out to the ending doom. So till the judgment that yourselves arise, you live in this and dwell in lovers' eyes. Thank you and greetings.
I think I've met you all now. I'm Jim Fleming, and I've had the pleasure for the last several years of being Master of Ceremonies at this event. I have very little to do other than to enjoy the talents of the young people who will read for you today. Actually, they won't read. Only those of us who are older are allowed to read. You have to recite. We have several distinguished guests who will do the judging today. And each of them will be given the opportunity to read one poem at a point during the program, because we'd like to get started on today's events. The first will be just after the first round of readings, okay? But please, before we begin, let me tell you who will be judging you today. Max Garland drove down from Eau Claire today. That shows a good deal of courage, I think, since it was icy and slick on the roads. Max is our poet laureate for 2013-2014. I'll say a little bit more about him later. Wendy Vardaman is also poet laureate, co-poet laureate of Madison, and has been a judge in the past. She's going to coach the others on how to make sure this works. And Oscar Mireles, sorry, your name isn't in the same position in the paragraph as the others. It took me a moment, and I wanted to make sure I got it right. I love the name of the two anthologies that he has published. I didn't know there were Latinos in Wisconsin, 20 Hispanic poets. Each of them will, at some point during the events today, give you a sample of their work. But right now, let's move directly to the first round, shall we? Let me just set up the event so you know what's going to happen. I will introduce you one by one. You'll come up, and if you like, you can adjust the mic. I'll repeat what Jackie said earlier. I've worked in radio for 40 years, so you can trust me when I say you should be this far away from the mic. If you get closer than that, you'll pop your P's, and people will pay attention to that and not to the art that you're doing. If you want to move the mic up and down, you can. This is adjusting. You can also move it at an angle. Thank you. That's the mundane out of the way. Let me introduce the first of our contestants. And we'll take about a minute in between each recitation so that the judges have the opportunity to do their thing. In the first round, our first contestant is Elise Ditzler, who's here from Rhinelander High School. She says that Spanish is her favorite subject, but I don't think that her first poem is in Spanish. Elise Ditzler.
September 1918 by Amy Lowell. This afternoon was the color of water falling through sunlight. The trees glittered with the tumbling of leaves. The sidewalk shone like alleys of dropped maple leaves. And the houses ran along them, laughing, out of square, open windows. Under a tree in the park, two little boys, lying flat on their faces, were carefully gathering red berries to put in a pasteboard box. Someday, there will be no war. Then I shall take out this afternoon and turn it in my fingers, and remark the sweet taste of it upon my palate, and note the crisp variety of its flights of leaves. Today I can only gather it and put it into my lunchbox, for I have time for nothing but the endeavor to balance myself upon a broken world.
Goes very quickly, doesn't it? The next of our contestants is here from Milwaukee High School of the Arts. This is Maya Elliott, who says her favorite subject is art history.
Bright Star by John Keats. Bright star, would I were steadfast as thou art, not in lone splendor hung aloft the night, and watching with eternal lids apart, like nature's patient, sleepless eremite, the moving waters at their priest-like task of pure ablution round earth's human shores, or gazing on the new, soft-falling mask of snow upon the mountains and the moors. No, yet still steadfast, still unchangeable, pillowed upon my fair love's ripening breast, to feel forever its soft fall and swell, awake forever its sweet unrest, still to hear her tender taken breath, and so live ever, or else swoon to death.
Our third is from Durand High School. This is Nayeli Itewa. She says her favorite subject is AP Psychology because it's allowed her to gain an understanding of the human mind. Nayeli Itewa.
Sonnet 18, Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day, by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dim. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee.